This is the anthem. Here's what you came for.
Welcome to the Disney Beat, a podcast brought to you by thedisinsider.com. My name is Sean Nyberg, and I will be covering all of the Disney headlines to keep you informed as you start your week.
Happening right now.
Hello there, this is Sean Nyberg, and this podcast is being recorded on the evening of Sunday, November 29th, 2020. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and let's dive into the news. So we're going to start off with some sad news, as we found out earlier today that actor David Pross passed away overnight. Pross was best known for his role as Darth Vader in the original Star Wars trilogy, and while James Earl Jones provided the famous voice, Pross portrayed the physical character in the film. He was 6'6" and started his career as a bodybuilder, which provided a perfect frame for the evil Vader. Pross was 85 years old and is survived by his wife Norma and their 3 children. Also in sad news today, November 29th would have been actor Chadwick Boseman's 44th birthday. Boseman was an acclaimed actor best known for his role as Black Panther in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He died back in August from complications with colon cancer. Overnight, Disney added a special tribute to Boseman at the beginning of Black Panther on Disney+. So, moving on to park news, it was announced this week that famed Disney Imagineer Joe Rohde will be retiring on January 4th. Rohde has been with the Disney company for 40 years, starting his career as a model designer for Epcot and working his way up to lead Imagineer. He is known for spearheading some of Disney's most iconic attractions and parks, including the development of Animal Kingdom in the mid-90s. He is also responsible for Expedition Everest, designing the Disney's Aulani Resort, bringing to life Animal Kingdom's Pandora World of Avatar, which included both the ride Flight of Passage and Navi River Journey. And he was involved in the retheming of Disney California Adventure's Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror, into Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Rohde will be remembered along with some of Disney's great Imagineers like Tony Baxter, Bob Gurr, and Mark Davis. So yeah, Joe Rohde announced this on his Instagram account and subsequent Twitter post, and he, just explained he's been at the company for a long time, and he's just gonna take the time to enjoy the rest of his his life healthy in retirement. He's a huge impact on the Disney company. If you go watch the Imagineering story, he pops up all the time. If you're having a hard time picturing him, he's the one with the large number of earrings in that one ear that's kind of pulling it down. That's one of the physical things that may spark a memory of him. One of the things that I mentioned here, the retheming of Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at DCA into Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. When they made that decision, it was really, it was a lot of pushback from the Disneyland Park fans. And once they did it, it was one of those things where the fans kind of, ate some crow a little bit, and they kind of realized, wow, okay, well, maybe this retheme almost made it better. And I just think it's just a testament to Joe Rohde, because, they already had a structure, they had a ride that everyone loved, the Tower of Terror, and the fact that he could retheme it and make it almost a better ride, it just says so much about him. But really, truly, what he'll most be remembered for is his contributions to Animal Kingdom. Like I said, he basically was the head designer of Animal Kingdom when it was first designed, along with a lot the Avatar edition and Expedition Everest. He's an amazing man. He's done amazing stuff for the Disney parks, and we're all better off for it. So he will be missed. There's some talks that he'll be sticking around as a like Tony Baxter. He also retired, and he's an Imagineer as well, and he still sticks around to come in and consult on projects, but the 40-hour work week and stuff is going to be done starting January 4th. It has also been announced that Disneyland Paris will remain closed until February 2021. So you might remember that the park shut down for a second time during France's nationwide COVID-19 lockdown a few weeks ago in response to the country's second wave of new cases this fall. There was hope the park would be able to reopen for a couple weeks during the holiday season, but French President Emmanuel Macron has ruled out any theme parks opening in the country through the end of 2020. January is notoriously slow for the parks in Paris because it gets very, very cold out there. They even are known to get snow on Main Street, well, throughout the whole park, but seeing it there, actual snow, not fake snow. So, January is super slow. So even if they were to be allowed to reopen after the first of the year, they are going to hold off until mid-February when tourism presumably begins to pick back up. While the financial hit is difficult for the Disney company and even harder for the employees, these types of restrictions will help the eventual recovery from this pandemic and save lives and avoid long-term health problems. So, here at the Disney Beat, we support a lot of these measures to help us get through this pandemic quicker, but we do know there's a lot of, there's a lot of fallout from it, and it's pretty tough, and just really hope that things get turned around and the Disneyland Paris Resort can open again come mid-February. One more cancellation to report due to COVID-19 is the 2021 Grad Nite at Disneyland. This will be the second year in a row this event will be canceled because of the pandemic. While there are strong reasons to believe that we will have widespread vaccines available by the time of this event, which was set for late May and early June, there are just too many uncertainties at this time for Disney to keep this event on the calendar. The annual Grad Night has been a tradition since the early 1960s, providing an opportunity for Southern California high school graduates to celebrate during a special late night event at the park. According to Disney, they're anticipating bringing back the event in 2022. And I hate to say this, but hopefully by then we'll be able to resume some semblance of normalcy. So, this is a bummer. I know that a lot of people in Southern California, a lot of the high school students look forward to stuff like this. But, unfortunately for graduates in 2020 and 2021, a lot of things are different. So just add this to the list of things that are different. So it's amazing though. This thing has been going on. I know they have it at Disney World as well, but Grad Night's been going on in Disneyland since almost a decade before Disney World even existed. So it's a pretty cool event that they do, and I know they're looking forward to getting back to it in 2022. So in some better park news, and so far on this podcast, some better news in general, from the Disneyland Resort, it has been announced that merchandise and a highly anticipated new robot will be available to purchase in downtown Disney in Anaheim starting December 4th. The hot new toy is called Spider Bots, and they are remote-controlled spider robots that can move forward, they can move backward and side to side. It can also crouch, spin in a circle, and blast off its own shield. These were planned to be released in Avengers Campus at Disney California Adventure when the land opened, in conjunction with the new interactive ride Web Slinger: A Spider-Man Adventure. In this upcoming ride, the Spider-Man one, guests will use virtual webs that fling out of their wrists to help Spider-Man collect spider bots that were unleashed throughout Avengers Campus. Think an updated and new technology, but Toy Story Midway Mania. Okay, so instead of shooting with a gun, you're shooting with your wrists, and you're collecting these spider bots. And these spider bots are in the ride, and so they were planning on selling these. So this land and the Avengers Campus land and the Spider-Man ride were supposed to open this past summer, but COVID-19 has kept the Disneyland Resort closed since March. Disney has been sitting on this product since last spring when they were going to release it over the summer with the ride and the land. But they've decided to release them without the corresponding attraction so that they are available in time for the holidays. While they don't make complete sense without riding the ride, enough Disney and Spider-Man fans are aware of the tie-in and will be lining up to purchase these toys. They are only available at World of Disney and the new Disneyland Resort Backlot Premiere Shop, both of which are in downtown Disney in Anaheim, California. They release to the public on December 4th and will be available for annual pass holders the week prior. So, and finally in park news, the official Disney Parks YouTube channel released behind-the-scenes footage of the upcoming Epcot dark ride, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, in the France Pavilion of World Showcase at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. The ride uses trackless technology that is themed to the Disney Pixar hit film Ratatouille. You can view this video over at thedisinsider.com. The attraction was intended to be released earlier this year, but due to COVID-19, it has been moved to 2021. The ride is a clone of the popular attraction in Walt Disney Studios Park at the Disneyland Paris Resort. So yeah, it's just some behind the scenes footage. They have some of the engineers and some of the people who are working on the ride right now in Florida. You know, they show some footage of the ride, they talk about it, and it looks really cool. You know, like I said, it's a clone of one that we saw open up a few years back in Paris, but it's the first version of this in the United States. It uses trackless ride. It has some practical sets, which are, you know, real sets, along with screens and 3D technology and special lighting. So it's going to be pretty amazing. Like I said, it opens up in 2021. We don't have an exact date yet, but we know that it'll be sometime next year, probably early next year. So yeah, that's it for the park news. Moving over to Disney Plus. So this past week, Disney Plus released a previously unannounced surprise musical special from Taylor Swift titled Folklore: The Long Pond Studio Sessions. This was filmed in upstate New York this past September. It premiered exclusively on Disney Plus this past Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. The special has Taylor Swift performing each song in the order they appear on the album from the massively successful album Folklore. And for the first time, she reveals the stories and secrets behind all 17 songs. Taylor Swift acts as both performer and director for the show. So yeah, that was a surprise drop on Disney Plus that came out last Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving. So it's available now exclusively on Disney Plus. So go check that out, especially if you're a Taylor Swift fan. And I'm sure if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you've already checked it out. So, in more Disney Plus news, as The Mandalorian continues to dominate the streaming industry with its incredibly successful season 2, the Star Wars universe will continue to grow in a number of upcoming Disney Plus series. While we have talked about a few upcoming projects that are spin-offs from The Mandalorian, one of the most anticipated and talked about Star Wars series has been fairly quiet until now. The upcoming Obi Wan Kenobi series has been in development for a while now, and it was halted due to COVID-19, like everything else, right? But we are starting to get some news about the upcoming series. We've learned that casting has begun for the upcoming live-action series, and several actresses are already in contention for one of the show's most prominent supporting roles. The character currently referred to as Riley or Eve will reportedly be a co-lead to the already confirmed Ewan McGregor, who will return to his legendary portrayal of Obi Wan Kenobi. While this female character's name may change by the time they start filming the series, we do know that 3 actresses are in the running to play her. Naomi Scott, who was in Aladdin and also in Power Rangers. Thusa Mbedu. So Thusa Mbedu from Barry Jenkins' upcoming The Underground Railroad. And relative newcomer Anula Navlakar. So those are the 3 actresses who are up for this role, who is going to be, they're referred to her as Riley or Eve, and they're going to be the co-lead with Ewan McGregor. And we also additionally learned the character name and descriptions of 3 other supporting characters in the series. Tia, who they've described as a female, person of color in her mid-30s. Harold, a male in his 20s or 30s who is quirky and comedic. And Bella, a female in her 30s who is Latinx. And, these are the descriptions available regarding casting. So, we didn't come up with them. And so no casting has been announced for these roles yet. And we do know, though, that the 6-part limited series will begin production in March of 2021 and will likely follow Obi Wan Kenobi in between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So if you are looking at the numbers, that would be episode 3 and episode 4. So yeah, this has been a huge series that Star Wars fans have really been looking forward to. I've been hearing about it since before even Disney Plus launched, November of last year. It had a couple things that slowed it down a bit, and obviously COVID-19 did too. So it looks like they're getting things going again. They're casting, and they begin production in March of next year. And some more Disney Plus news: Marvel Studios series Hawkeye, which will begin production this week. That is the Marvel Studios Disney Plus series Hawkeye. Reports indicate that filming is set to begin in downtown Brooklyn in New York this Tuesday. So this is just, this may even be beyond after you've listened to this. So Tuesday, December 1st. It is unclear if this is just exterior shots, as the majority of the series will be filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. We also got a picture of Jeremy Renner, the actor who plays Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, in the Marvel films, that showed him in special makeup, and he posted that to his social media accounts. It is unclear if this was from actual filming or just a makeup test. We do know that Renner will return as Clint Barton as he trains a new bow wielder, Kate Bishop, who ends up taking the Hawkeye mantle. The series is expected to be released on Disney Plus in 2022. And this is one, you'll hear me say this, and you've probably heard me in the past if you've listened to this podcast, where I just really think the Marvel Studios getting some of their series is going, like WandaVision and Hawkeye, and they have a few others lined up. We'll add to these other series for Star Wars. So there is a lot of new content that comes out every week, but this will be some new big content where the Mandalorian doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting for new adult content. So again, a lot of this stuff was supposed to be coming out earlier, but obviously COVID-19 pushed everything off. But once these start getting released, I think, we're just going to see things just exponentially grow with Disney Plus, and it has already grown beyond expectations. So this is just really exciting news, especially if you're a fan of Star Wars or Marvel or both or neither, because, I wasn't a huge fan a few years back, but I really got into it, in the last few years, and I'm just looking forward to both these series. Very much, right? And then also, finally, in Disney Plus news, Percy Jackson. Yeah, so Percy Jackson was a book series, and they had a couple movies that came out. The first one was successful, the second one not so successful. And Disney has the rights to it, so they're going to release a series on Disney Plus surrounding the Percy Jackson book. So Percy Jackson's Disney Plus series, we got a little bit of news released this week. It was reported that a completed script was sent to executives at Disney for approval. The series will reportedly follow the storyline of the 5-book series, starting with The Lightning Thief, which centers on a teenager who discovers he's the descendant of a Greek god and sets out on an adventure to settle an ongoing battle between the gods. The current plan is that the series will tackle each new book for every season, assuming, of course, that audience respond positively. So, yep, that's just a little bit of news. Again, it's not like a lot of specific news, but it's just when we hear things like this, we know that the series is moving forward, right? Because sometimes these series get stuck in limbo, and any little bit of news like this shows that it's proceeding. So if you're a fan of the series, or you're looking for a new series, that's some good news. So that one's moving forward. So now we move over to Disney Films. There was not a ton of news out over this last Thanksgiving holiday week regarding upcoming Disney films, but we did learn that composer James Newton Howard is set to score the upcoming animated film Raya and the Last Dragon, which is being released by Walt Disney Animation Studios. This animated film is set to be released in theaters on March 12th and will feature the voices of Kelly Marie Tran from the Star Wars Episodes 8 and 9, the last two, and Awkwafina from Crazy Rich Asians. I would be surprised to see this released on March 12th unless we see a faster than expected distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines along with widespread participation. Like I always say each and every week, any theatrical release date should be considered subject and likely to change. James Newton Howard is one of the most prolific composers in modern U.S. cinema. He has worked on some of the biggest movies of the past few decades, including The Fugitive, Waterworld, Primal Fear, The Sixth Sense, 2003's Peter Pan, Batman Begins, King Kong, I Am Legend, The Dark Knight, The Hunger Games, The Bourne Legacy, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and many more, including the theme music for the TV series ER. James Newton Howard has also completed working on the score for the upcoming Disney live-action film Jungle Cruise, which is scheduled to be released this summer, which was originally set to be released last summer. So with all that said, James Newton Howard is one of the best. He's, there's John Williams, and, there's James Newton Howard, and just a few others who are just right up there as the best in the business. So good to hear that he is set to compose that upcoming animated film, Raya and the Last Dragon. It's, it's being released by the same studio that released Frozen, so it's not a Pixar movie. It's an animated Disney film like from the people who released Moana and Frozen and those kind of films. So, Disney's really looking forward to this. Obviously, a successful film like this not just brings in money from the box office, but, it spins off to merchandise and potential representation in the parks and sequels and spin-offs and all that fun stuff. So, it's pretty cool to hear that they got such an amazing composer lined up, and we've only heard good things so far from this film, so it's really exciting. Over in Hulu news. So if you listened to last week, I ended that episode by sharing that I had seen the movie Run on Hulu just prior to recording the podcast. So last Sunday, I'd watch it during the day, then I recorded the podcast that evening. I told you guys how much I enjoyed the film. I thought the writing was clever, the pacing was consistent, and the two actresses were phenomenal, especially Sarah Paulson. I love her so much. I think she can do no wrong. She plays the mother. Well, a few days later, after it was released that weekend, Disney had announced that that Run on Hulu has become the most watched feature film ever on the streaming platform. So the movie also was tracked as the most talked about Hulu original film ever on social media this past week. So people were really talking about this too, all over Twitter and Facebook and stuff. The movie was originally meant for a theatrical release earlier in this year, but due to COVID-19, it was held back. And while it was being held by the studio, Hulu purchased the distribution rights at the end of this summer and released it on November 20th on their streaming service. Again, remember, and I always mention this, but Disney owns a controlling interest in Hulu, and in a year or two, they're going to own all of Hulu. So that's why Hulu gets talked about, because Disney essentially owns it. So, Hulu purchased the rights to distribute the film at the end of summer. They released it on November 20th on their streaming service, and it has just blown up. It's the most watched original film on Hulu. It's been talked about the most on all social media. The film has received, well, first of all, and Sean Nyberg from the Disney Beat podcast said it's fantastic. So, that's probably the highest praise it's been getting. But, second to Sean Nyberg's praise, the film received stellar reviews, holding 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it received the ultimate stamp of approval from the master himself, Stephen King, who tweeted, quote, "Hulu's movie Run. No extraneous bull s, just nerve-splintering terror." Again, Hulu's movie Run, no extraneous BS, just nerve-splintering terror. And when Stephen King says that about your film, you know that it's good. One final note about this movie: one of the two main characters has a physical disability. The daughter, in the film, the character has a physical disability which requires her to use a wheelchair. When casting the film, the producers and director made sure to find an actress with the same disability. It has been standard for movies to hire able-bodied actors to portray characters with disabilities in the past, but we are starting to see some signs of change with filmmakers seeking out disabled actors to play these roles. The fact that Run falls into this category makes it even easier film to get behind. Go check it out if you haven't yet. So, I read about this last weekend. I think it's fantastic that that the character has a disability and there's an actress with the same disability. Because if you think about it, if the character is able-bodied and they wouldn't even be able to hire an actress or an actor with a disability, because they obviously can't portray, if they can't walk, they can't portray a character who can walk. So I think it's fantastic. So, it's logical. It's not logical to assume, it's fact that a disabled actor has a lot smaller roles that they can portray, depending on how severe the disability is. So the fact that there's a character with a disability, I think it's super fantastic that these filmmakers are finding an actor to portray the disabled character who has the same disability. If you read actually about it, it's a little disheartening though, because the point of the story that I read was showing how many actresses auditioned for the role, and there were a handful of them who faked a disability because they knew that the producers were looking for that. So they came in and faked that they were unable to walk because of a disability. And with just a little bit of searching, the producers and the director found footage of them on their social media walking along the beach and doing all these things. So, that's a little disheartening to hear. But on the lighter note, they got caught and they weren't hired. And, I think the people who made this film are doing the right thing. I hope it continues to be a trend. And, like I said, it's another reason to get behind the film. But beyond all that, it's just a terrific film. When you have someone like Stephen King talking about, calling it nerve splintering terror, you may get too worried about it being like too horror movie. And I would definitely not call it horror movie. I would definitely call it just suspense. It's, just very, very suspenseful. It's very stressful, but the whole film's very satisfying. You finish the whole thing, and I definitely think you should check it out. It's on Hulu, called Run. In some news from the Disney-owned ABC network, so Disney doesn't just own Hulu, but Disney also owns ABC. Tonight, so I'm recording this Sunday, so this is really tomorrow night, but this is getting released on Monday. So tonight, the night this podcast is being released, Monday, November 30th, ABC will be airing the Disney Holiday Singalong at 8 p.m. This will be the third sing-along special released by Disney since the COVID-19 pandemic began earlier this year. The first special was released in April and received the largest broadcast ratings since the Oscars telecast earlier in the year. This holiday special will include performances by BTS, Sierra, Pink, Katy Perry, Michael Bublé, and a special performance of Let It Go by the Broadway casts of Frozen, The Lion King, and Aladdin, along with the North American touring companies for Frozen. So that's going to be really amazing. Those cast members for the Broadway shows and for the touring companies. They haven't been able to work since the pandemic began, just waiting to find out when these shows are going to go live again. So it'll be really cool to see them come together and, record their performance of Let It Go. So that's going to be, again, you may be hearing this late, so you may have to go back and find it somewhere. I believe they're going to air it on, I believe Hulu in December is going to got the rights to air it on repeat. But if you listen to this on Monday morning or Monday during the day, tonight is your night, November 30th. And so, check that out. And that's really it for the Disney news. I just want to end on a final note, which I do each and every week. I know there's been a lot of people suffering this holiday season due to fallout from COVID-19. Some have lost their jobs. Some have lost their loved ones. Some have been sick themselves. The politics surrounding the pandemic has divided families and friends, and the overall feeling around the world has been pretty dark for this year. All of that combined with the darker days of winter, the stress of the holidays, and the continued divisiveness following the recent U.S. presidential election can send a lot of people into deep depression and possibly self-harm. I think it is incumbent on all of us to check in with our friends and family, tell them they are loved, think of ways to express this in a safe manner, and be the bright light in their life that you would want in yours. We never know what is going on with people, and someone's social media presence and overall demeanor are often not reflective of their actual reality. Let's be kind to one another and take a page from Disney and spread some magic and pixie dust to the lives of those around us. You never know who you might be saving by making a simple phone call. So on behalf of myself and those of us here at the Disney Beat, along with those at the Disney Insider, we wish everyone good health and prosperity. With that, I want to thank you for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen. These ratings really help the show find new listeners. I also ask that you share this podcast with friends and family who love Disney and enjoy entertainment news. All stories that I talked about can be found on thedisinsider.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the handle The Diz Insider, all one word, or on Facebook by searching The Diz Insider. You can follow me personally, Sean Nyberg, the host, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Sean Nyberg, all one word, Sean, S-E-A-N, Nyberg, N-Y-B-E-R-G. Sean Nyberg, all one word. I also co-host the Disney podcast, Walt's Apartment, that comes out every Thursday, and the Disney Parks theme podcast, Extra Magic Hour, which is released every other week. So check those out. Thank you again for listening, and I will see you here again next week for another edition of the Disney Beat podcast. My name is Sean Nyberg. Have a fantastic week.